Chapter 34:53. Fengjiu walked in the night. However, after a while, she felt that someone was following her. So, she changed her route to the Peach Blossom Cove. She led the person behind her around the city until she successfully shook him off. She stood in the dark and looked at the white figure in the night. She couldn't help but smile. She didn't expect Jun Jueshang to follow her. However, how could she let him follow her to see her sister at this time? She watched him walk around the city and head in the opposite direction. Then, she took a deep breath and walked towards the Peach Blossom Cove. Wanyan Qianhua was lying lazily in the Peach Blossom Cove. She looked at the night sky outside the window. Her hand was on her belly. Her face was soft and gentle. She was in a daze and looking at the night sky. It was easy for her to feel sleepy. Just as she was yawning and feeling sleepy, she heard Fengjiu's voice from outside. "Sister." Her eyebrows twitched when she heard him call her sister. She got up and walked outside. She saw Fengjiu, who was dressed in red, walking towards her with a smile. Wanyan Qianhua's beautiful eyes were angry when she saw her. "You finally came. Sister, did you miss me?" Fengjiu walked forward with a smile. His eyes fell on her bulging belly. His eyes lit up. "Your belly is so big. Sister, it must be hard to be pregnant." Wanyan Qianhua stroked her belly. Her eyes were soft. Which woman doesn't have a hard time being pregnant? She held Fengjiu's hand and said, "It's cold at night. Let's go inside and talk." Then, she led Fengjiu inside. "Fengjiu, you're here?" Wanyan Shisan appeared out of nowhere. When he saw Fengjiu, he smiled and walked forward. "You finally came. I brought supper for you," Fengjiu said. He smiled at him and motioned for him to come in. In the room, the three sat around the table. Fengjiu took out the bird's nest from the space and said to Wanyan Qianhua, "Sister, you're pregnant. You should eat more bird's nest. It'll be good for the child and you. We have some at home, but we haven't stewed them on the way here. Besides, you have some phoenix guards guarding here, so you eat whatever you want." Today, Uncle 13 said he was going out to find a cook, but he forgot about the kitchen when he saw you guys coming back, Wanyan Qianhua said with a smile, glancing at Wanyan Shisan who was scooping out the bird's nest. Wanyan Shisan put a bowl of bird's nest in front of Qianhua and said to Fengjiu, "Originally, I wanted to let the phoenix guards guarding here arrange it. But since you're here, why don't you find one for me?" "Okay, I'll send 2 people over later," Fengjiu said and motioned for them to eat quickly. She held her cheek with one hand and looked at Wanyan Qianhua. After she finished eating the bird's nest, she smiled and said, "Sister, Jun Jueshang followed me all the way back. He found out when I came out just now. He followed me all the way, but I got rid of him." Hearing this, Wanyan Qianhua moved the bowl of bird's nest to the side. After wiping the corner of her mouth, she looked at Fengjiu. "I was just about to ask you, what are your plans? Why did you let him follow you? What if they bumped into each other here? Now that I'm like this, what if he sees me?" Chapter 34:54. He lightly coughed and looked at the two of them. He was a little speechless as he said, "You 2 women are talking about forcing yourself in front of a man like me. Don't you think it's not too good?" Hearing this, the 2 of them looked at each other and smiled. "Then why don't you go and rest first? We still have a long chat to go." Seeing this, Wanyan Shisan nodded. "That's good. You 2 haven't seen each other for a long time. Have a good chat. I'm going to sleep first." Saying this, he stood up and waved his hand as he walked out. That night, Fengjiu and Wanyan Shisan chatted for the entire night. When the sky gradually brightened, Fengjiu left the Peach Blossom Cove and went back to the Feng Manor. When she returned to the manor's courtyard, she saw Jun Jueshang in white sitting in her courtyard, drinking wine. Seeing this, she lightly smiled and asked, "Why did you come to my place to drink wine so early in the morning?" Jun Jueshang looked at her and asked, "You went to see her?" "Who?" Fengjiu pretended to be ignorant and asked. "Aside from Wanyan Qianhua, who else could it be?" Jun Jueshang said. He looked at her and asked, "She's here, right? Where is she? How long do you plan to hide her?" Hearing this, Fengjiu lightly smiled and said, "That's not right. My sister is not someone I can hide from." She walked up to the table and sat down. She smiled and said, "It's just that she still doesn't want to see you. Even if you go and see her, it's useless." "So, she really is here?" Jun Jushang's eyes slightly moved. She lightly replied. Her clear eyes were filled with a smile. "You can't find her. Even if you find her, you might not be able to see her. Stay here for now. It's not time yet." Jun Jushang held the wine cup in his hand. His voice carried a trace of anger. "She still doesn't want to see me? Who was the one who did something wrong?" Hearing this, Fengjiu raised his eyebrows and said leisurely, "You're the one who took advantage of my sister. After all, you're really old. She's the only one who likes you. If it was someone else, it might not be the case." Jun Jushang choked. He didn't know what to say. He glanced at her and drank the wine in his cup. "I haven't slept all night. I'm going back to my room to rest. Help yourself." She stood up and yawned as she walked into her room. Jun Jushang watched her leave. He calmly withdrew his gaze and sat in the courtyard for a while. Then, he stood up and walked out of the mansion. Where would Fengjiu hide them? Another month passed, and the Feng Manor had already helped Fengjiu choose a wedding date. During this time, aside from staying in the manor, she went to Peach Blossom Cove to see her elder sister. During these days in the manor, Yi Jing and the children often accompanied her, so the days didn't seem boring. However, after a month, she began to miss Xianyuan Mo's. After choosing a good date, she sent him a message to tell him the date. She just didn't know when he would return. While she was in the courtyard thinking, Jun Jushang and Guan Shilin were playing chess in the garden. Guan Shilin held a chess piece and thought for a long time before placing it down. However, Jun Jushang only glanced at it before placing down another piece. Immediately after, when it was Guan Shilin's turn, he frowned. Chapter 3455. As he spoke, he paused and asked, "Do you have any recommendations?" Guan Shilin was thinking about a chess piece when he heard Gu Shijiu's words. He asked, "A quiet place? There are many in the city. Have you been to all of them?" He stared at the chess piece and thought, which one is best? "I've been to all the famous places. The scenery is ordinary, very similar to many towns." As he spoke, his voice was slow and indifferent, as if he was chatting casually. No one could detect any hidden meaning in his word. Guan Shilin was thinking about the chess pieces, so he didn't pay attention to Zhang Heng's words. Instead, he followed Zhang Heng's words and said, "There's a place you haven't been to before. The scenery there is amazing, but it's not in this city." As he spoke, he put down a chess piece, then raised his head and smiled. "It's your turn." Jun Jushang glanced at the chessboard, then calmly picked up a chess piece and put it down. He asked, "Oh? There's such a place? Where is it? How come I've never heard of it?" "The Peach Blossom Cove. The scenery there is amazing. Peach blossoms bloom all year round, and the fragrance of the flowers fills the nose. It's Xiaojiu's place. In the past, the peach blossoms only bloomed in March. After Xiaojiu took over, she had people plant peach blossoms everywhere. Therefore, the peach blossoms there all year round. Everyone who comes here will go to the Peach Blossom Cove. It's especially suitable for couples who are in love." When he said this, Guan Shilin couldn't help but be startled. He raised his head and looked at Jun Jushang, who was sitting opposite him. For a moment, the smile on his face was a little embarrassed. It's over. He actually accidentally mentioned the Peach Blossom Cove. Wanyan Qianhua lived there. If he went there, then Peach Blossom Cove? Jun Jushang murmured these three words. He looked at Guan Shilin and asked, "Where is it?" After seeing Guan Shilin's expression, Jun Jushang stood up indifferently. "It's okay, I'll find it." As he spoke, he turned around and walked out. The people in the residence wouldn't say anything, but outside the residence, as long as he asked someone, he would naturally know where the Peach Blossom Cove was. Seeing Jun Jueshang turn and leave, Guan Shilin couldn't help but feel anxious. He was worried that he had caused trouble, so he hurried to Fengjiu's courtyard. Xiaojiu, Xiaojiu. Fengjiu was lying on the soft couch, basking in the sun. When he heard his brother's voice, he slowly opened his eyes and asked, "Brother, what is it?" "Xiaojiu, I was playing chess with Jun Jueshang just now. Who would have thought that he would ask me a few questions while I was thinking about chess? I was careless and told him about the Peach Blossom Cove. He is now outside. I'm afraid he is going to look for the Peach Blossom Cove." After hearing his brother's words, Fengjiu chuckled. "It's okay. My sister's belly is already more than 4 months old. I don't think he would dare to do anything to my sister." As she spoke, she sat up and smiled. "However, I still have to go and take a look. After all, the way these two people interact is a little strange. Moreover, I'm also curious. When he sees my sister's bulging belly, how will he react?" Thus, Fengjiu followed her out and went to the Peach Blossom Cove. Chapter 3456. When Jun Jueshang arrived at the Peach Blossom Cove and saw the words on it, his gaze involuntarily fell on the faintly discernible peach blossom forest. When he arrived here, his heart inexplicably tensed up. Was she in there? Why is she hiding here? How can she hide for so long? As he walked forward, he felt that someone was watching him from the shadows. He only glanced at his surroundings before walking in. The Phoenix Guards in the shadows watched Jun Jueshang walk in. When they recalled that their master had sent them a message not to stop him, they retracted their gazes and no longer stared at the person who walked in. The outside of the peach blossom forest was open, but there were some places inside that were not open. Those were private places, and compared to the environment outside, it was more quiet and secluded. Jun Jueshang walked forward. He walked through the peach blossom forest, and when he was about to walk forward, he could not help but stop. Under a peach blossom tree in front of him, Wanyan Qianhua, who was dressed in red like the sun, was lying on her side on a soft couch. Her body was covered with a blanket, and her hair was not tied up. Instead, it was casually let loose. Her beautiful face looked very serene and gentle at this moment, because she was sleeping soundly. The surroundings were very quiet. When a gentle breeze blew, the peach blossom petals on the tree fell onto her body, her hair, and her face. The scene of peach blossoms fluttering in the wind, and her sleeping soundly under the peach blossom tree, was so beautiful at this moment that he could not take his eyes off her. He stood quietly and watched. He did not know how much time had passed, until she lazily moved her body and turned over slightly. The blanket covering her body slid to the ground. He looked at the woman who was sleeping with her back facing him. He could not believe that she could sleep so soundly in such a place. When he thought of the fact that the secret guards were watching every corner of this place, his face darkened. In other words, this woman's sleeping appearance was also seen by the secret guards who were hiding in the shadows. When he thought of this, the aura on his body could not help but turn cold. When Wanyan Shursan, who was walking over, saw the white figure standing in the middle of the peach blossom forest, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. He opened his eyes wide and stared at the person standing there. He couldn't believe it and exclaimed in his heart, "Jun Jueshang? How did he find this place?" His footsteps, which were originally prepared to step forward, could not help but lighten. He retreated step by step, suddenly retreating backward. Jun Jueshang, the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect, whom Qian Huachang had raped, had come here. What should they do? How would he deal with Qian Hua? If he found out that Qian Hua was pregnant with his child, wouldn't that be? Thinking of this, she couldn't help but stop. She looked forward and saw that the blanket on Qian Hua's body had fallen to the ground. Fortunately, she was sleeping with her back facing Jun Jueshang. Therefore, Jun Jueshang couldn't see her bulging belly. However, if he walked forward or if she suddenly turned over and woke up, wouldn't he see it? Chapter 34:57. Wanyan Shursan was stunned. His eyes were wide open, and he opened his mouth to warn Wanyan Qianhua, who was comfortably lying down and caressing her belly. However, Fengjiu, who had appeared behind him, reached out and sealed his acupoint, making him unable to speak. Fengjiu came to Wanyan Shursan's side and made a gesture to him to keep quiet. Only then did he release his acupoint and look at Jun Shang in front of him with anticipation. Jun Shang, who was originally prepared to walk forward, was stunned once again. He stared at Wanyan Qianhua's slightly bulging belly in disbelief. His face no longer had its usual calm and indifferent expression. There was only shock and disbelief. His entire person seemed to be stupefied, and his mind was blank. In his eyes there was only Wanyan Qianhua, who was caressing her slightly bulging belly. He was not a young boy. Even if he had never been married, he knew what it meant when a woman's belly grew bigger. But how was this possible? He had only spent one night with her. How could she have gotten pregnant in just one night? At this moment, his breathing became chaotic. Because of this, Wanyan Qianhua, who was originally lying down lazily, immediately sensed the presence of an unfamiliar aura. "Who is it?" she coldly shouted. Her fingers pinched a falling peach blossom petal and threw it towards the source of the aura. At the same time, she jumped up and looked over. However, when she saw who it was, her eyes couldn't help but flash with a trace of panic. "Jun Shang? Why is it you?" Wanyan Qianhua didn't expect him to suddenly come here. Audiobook clearly said that he couldn't see her, so why did he suddenly come here? And he even knew that she was here? Jun Shang was stunned when he saw her big belly, so he couldn't even dodge the peach blossom petal that she shot at him. That seemingly harmless peach blossom petal, after being injected with spiritual energy, became sharp. Just like that, it quickly cut his sleeve and cut his arm. Scarlet red blood seeped out and dyed his white robe red. However, he didn't seem to feel pain. When he saw Wanyan Qianhua jump up like that, he was so scared that his face turned pale and his heart suddenly jumped. In the blink of an eye, he was by her side. His pale face was clearly ashen as he looked at her. "You're actually pregnant." Seeing him arrive in front of her in an instant, Wanyan Qianhua's heart panicked. She forced herself to calm. "So what if I'm pregnant? It's not yours." "What did you say?" Jun Shang's originally ashen face immediately darkened after hearing her words. His entire body was filled with a terrifying aura. His eyes were firmly fixed on Wanyan Qianhua. He only felt that his perfect self-control was thrown to the back of his head by her light words at this moment. Wanyan Qianhua, who originally wanted to say it again, was terrified when she met his murderous gaze. She took a deep breath and calmed her panicked heart. She moved her gaze away and calmed herself down. At the same time, she calmly stepped back. Who knew that she would accidentally touch the foot of the soft couch? Her body lost balance and fell backwards. "Ah!" She was shocked and cried out in alarm. She instinctively protected her belly. She thought that she would fall down, but who knew that in the next moment, Jun Shang would hug her tightly. Chapter 34:58. Jun Shang was also frightened when he saw her startled appearance. His heart was in a mess. Even the hand that was holding her trembled slightly. It was said that it was easy for a woman to have a miscarriage in the first few months of pregnancy, and she had to be careful. God knew that when he saw her almost fall down with such a big belly, he was so scared that his face turned pale. He was prepared to scold her, but when he saw her pale face, he couldn't say a word. Fengjiu and Wanyan Shursan watched them not far away with interest. Looking at the two of them getting along, Wanyan Shursan lowered his voice and asked, "Is this okay? We really don't need to go up? Nothing will happen, right?" Fengjiu rolled his eyes and said, "Why should we go up? Jun Shang is here. Are you worried that something will happen to my sister?" "Don't worry, it's okay. Let them get along. You don't want your grandnephew to be born without a father, do you? Hearing her words, Wanyan Shursan looked at the two people in front of him with complicated eyes. He was still a little worried. After all, Qian Hua had raped Jun Jushang. If he didn't have any feelings for her, even if she was pregnant with his child, he wouldn't be soft-hearted. However, looking at the situation now, it seemed that there was a chance. Let me go. Wanyan Qianhua came to her senses and said in a cold voice. She struggled to get out of his arms. Don't move. Jun Jushang shouted in a low voice. He was afraid that it was too fierce and would scare her, so his voice sounded more helpless. He looked at her struggling, thought for a while, and finally let go of her hand. However, when Wanyan Qianhua was about to escape, he reached out and grabbed her hand. Sit down, let's talk. He grabbed her wrist and let her sit down on the soft couch. At this moment, his face was serious and solemn. Wanyan Qianhua hesitated. Seeing that she couldn't escape, she sat down, but her hands were still subconsciously protecting her abdomen. She stared at him vigilantly and said, What do you want to talk about? Let me tell you, you were the one who took advantage of me when I forced myself on you that night. Don't even think about bringing that up to me again. The corners of Jun Jushang's mouth twitched when he heard those words. He looked at Wanyan Qianhua, who was forcing himself to remain calm, and asked, Did I take advantage of you? Weren't you the one who took advantage of this monarch? Let's not talk about how you forced yourself on this monarch, but you actually got pregnant with this monarch's child, and then ran away without a trace. If I hadn't come looking for you, were you planning to hide this child from me? The more he spoke, the more dangerous his tone became. Even his eyes narrowed. He knew very well that if he hadn't tricked Guan Shilin today, she would have hidden the child after giving birth. He wouldn't even know that she was pregnant or even gave birth to a child. Thinking of this, his face couldn't help but darken. Look carefully, this child is in my belly. This is my child. What does it have to do with you? Wanyan Qianhua snorted coldly. Although she felt guilty, she didn't want to lose her momentum. Hearing that, Jun Jushang's eyes gradually deepened. He looked at her and asked in a low voice, Then this monarch wants to ask, how did this child come to be in your belly? Wanyan Qianhua was stunned when she heard those words. How did it come to be in her belly? Of course, it was because of that night. Chapter 34:59. Hearing her scolding and looking at her angry expression, Jun Jushang said calmly, You know whether I'm a beast or not. Fengjiu and Wanyan Shursan were stunned. Their eyes were full of surprise. They didn't expect this. This unlocked Jun Jushang was a man who was cold on the outside but passionate on the inside. How did the child end up in Wanyan Qianhua's stomach? Was there a need to ask? Which adult man or woman didn't know what was going on? He actually had the face to ask this seriously? It was unbelievable. Wanyan Qianhua took a deep breath and looked at the face in front of her. Finally, she lay down on the soft couch and closed her eyes. You can go. I don't welcome you here. Don't appear in front of me. We're talking about something, Jun Jushang said and looked at her with her eyes closed. His eyes couldn't help but fall on her stomach. His eyes flashed. For the first time, a strange feeling rose in his heart. There was a child in her stomach. Moreover, the child was his blood. This feeling was really strange. It made him look forward to it. He was happy. He was also at a loss. Don't stare at my stomach. Wanyan Qianhua was angry. She angrily opened her eyes and glared at him. Even if she closed her eyes, she knew that his eyes had been fixed on her stomach. That feeling made her very uncomfortable. Being shouted at, Jun Jushang looked away awkwardly. He coughed and looked at the peach tree in front of him. He was silent for a while. As if he had thought it over carefully, he looked away from the peach tree and looked at Wanyan Qianhua. Let's get married. Wanyan Qianhua was stunned when she heard this. She asked, What did you say? Let's get married. He looked at her. When he said this for the second time, he didn't find it difficult to say it the first time. Moreover, after he said it, he felt that it was a good idea. He thought that he would be happy to marry her. After all, she was the only woman who had moved his heart in so many years. Even if he didn't understand his feelings for her, he was very clear about what he wanted at this moment. Getting married and giving her and their child a complete family. This was what he wanted. However, he didn't understand a woman's thoughts at all. Because of this, Wanyan Qianhua regained his senses when he heard his words. Then, he flew into a rage. He picked up the fruit on the small table beside him and threw it at him. Get out! Get out of Peach Blossom Cove! Get out! Jun Jushang didn't understand why he was so angry. Feng Jiu and Wanyan Shisan, who were hiding not far from them, were also frightened. Feng Jiu came out. He didn't hide anymore. He rushed to her and comforted her. Sister, you are pregnant. You can't be so angry. You have to take care of the child. Wanyan Qianhua took a deep breath. She tried to calm down. However, she heard Jun Jushang's voice again. You are pregnant. Don't get angry so easily. It will affect the baby. When Jun Jushang heard Feng Jiu's words, he was also shocked. He hurriedly tried to persuade her. However, who knew that it would be better if he didn't say anything? Get out! Get out! Chapter 3460. Seeing that the situation was not good, Wanyan Shisan hurriedly pulled Jun Jushang away. He didn't dare to leave him there and make Wanyan Qianhua angry. Although he didn't understand why Jun Jushang suddenly became angry. After Wanyan Shisan pulled Jun Jushang away, Feng Jiu let out a sigh of relief and sat down. Sister, why are you angry with him? He is a fool. I guess he doesn't even know why you are angry. After seeing them leave and hearing Feng Jiu's words, Wanyan Qianhua gradually calmed down. Because she was pregnant, her temper became easily irritable. Therefore, after hearing Jun Jushang's words, she couldn't suppress her anger. In particular, she also knew that she couldn't get angry so easily when she was pregnant. However, she couldn't help it. Why did he come here? Wanyan Qianhua looked at Feng Jiu and asked. After thinking carefully, she shouldn't have told Jun Jushang that she was here at this time. Hearing this, Feng Jiu sighed helplessly. Since he knew that I came to see you, he secretly searched everywhere in the city. However, he didn't find any news about you. So, he thought of my brother. I was in the courtyard. I heard my brother hurriedly ran to me and told me that Jun Jushang took the opportunity to trick him when he was playing chess with him. He accidentally told him that the Peach Blossom Dock was my place and the scenery was first class. Therefore, he found this place. After I heard about it, I hurriedly rushed over. Listening to her words, Wanyan Qianhua's face became darker. You are actually playing tricks. You are really promising. He is not an ordinary person. You can't hide the fact that you are here from him for long. You will meet sooner or later. So, I thought that since he knows, I will let you meet. Who knew that he would say that he wants to marry you? Speaking of this, Feng Jiu couldn't help but shake his head and smile bitterly. For a woman, especially a woman as proud as his sister, it was absolutely impossible for her to marry him because she was pregnant with his child. Jun Jushang said that he wanted to marry her at this time. Anyone would think that he wanted to marry her because she was pregnant with his child. An ordinary woman would have been overjoyed to hear that the patriarch of the Xiao Yao school wanted to marry her. However, the patriarch of the Xiao Yao school was her elder sister, Wanyan Qianhua. Jun Jushang's words were a humiliation to her. It would have been strange if she didn't fly into a rage. He wants to take my child away, said with an ugly face Shangzi's eyes. She couldn't help but reach her hands to her belly. She touched her belly and her eyes became firm. This child is my child my. He wants to take him away from me. Hearing this, Feng Jiu was startled. Then, he smiled and said, Sister, you misunderstood. He doesn't want to take your child away from you. For a person like Jun Jushang, It was absolutely impossible for him to marry a woman for a child. He said that to her sister because the woman who was pregnant with his child was her, Wanyan Qianhua. However, Wanyan Qianhua didn't listen to Fengjiu at this time. She felt a little insecure. She felt that if Jun Jushang wanted to take her child away from her, she might not be able to beat him. Therefore, she thought for a while and looked at Fengjiu. She asked worriedly, "Jiu, do you think I should take this opportunity to run away and hide? I am really worried that he will take my child away." Chapter 3461. Fengjiu and Wanyan Qianhua were talking. On the other side, Jun Jushang, who had been pulled outside by Wanyan Shisan, was a little startled. He glanced at Wanyan Shisan beside him and asked, "Did I say something wrong just now?" Wanyan Shisan couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable when he thought that his niece had raped him and now he was facing Jun Jushang. After hearing his words, he quickly said, "I don't know, but looking at Qianhua, you must have said something that angered him." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw him standing under the peach tree in a daze. Seeing that he didn't speak for a long time, Wanyan Shisan wanted to leave first. After all, standing next to him made him feel inexplicably guilty. However, just as he took a step away, he heard Jun Jushang's voice. "Did you bring her back here?" Jun Jushang suddenly came back to his senses and looked at Wanyan Shisan. Seeing that he couldn't leave, Wanyan Shisan smiled. Yes. At that time, because she said that she wanted to come back here, she asked me to accompany her. At the same time, I also went back to the Wanyan clan to take a look. But, isn't Fengjiu coming back to get married? So, we also came here. Then, he quickly said, "But, I didn't know that she was pregnant with your child." Jun Jushang didn't speak. He just looked back for a long time. Then, he said, "You go and see her. Don't let her have any miscarriage. Ask Fengjiu to give her some medicine to prevent miscarriage." "Okay, then do as you wish." As Wanyan Shisan spoke, he slipped away and went back. Although he was used to being unrestrained, he still felt pressure when facing Jun Jushang, the leader of the Xiaoyao sect. Moreover, he had taken his niece away. If he was held responsible, he wouldn't be able to say anything even if he had 10 mouths. Back inside, Wanyan Shisan looked back and said to Fengjiu, "That Jun Jushang doesn't seem to want to leave. What should we do? Are we really going to let him stay?" As he spoke, he couldn't help but look at Wanyan Qianhua. Fengjiu smiled, his eyes flashing with the light of watching a good show. He said, "I just told Big Sis to let him stay. Anyway, my sister doesn't have anyone to order around, so why not just treat him as her subordinate? I think he would be happy to do so. I don't want to see him again today. I'm going back to my room to rest," Wanyan Qianhua said as he got up and walked towards the courtyard. Seeing this, Fengjiu smiled and said something to Wanyan Shisan. Then, he walked towards Jun Jushang, who was standing under the tree, and asked, "What do you plan to do now?" "Marry her and give her child a complete family," Jun Jushang said and looked at Fengjiu. "Aren't you going to get married soon? You've already picked a date. Why don't we get married together?" Hearing this, Fengjiu couldn't help but laugh. "My sister agreed to marry you. This person is really confident. Is he sure that his sister won't marry anyone else but him?" When Jun Jushang heard this, his face sank. "If she doesn't marry me, who else does she want to marry? That's hard to say. My sister is such an outstanding person. She won't marry you just because she's pregnant with your child. She's not the kind of woman who cares about what the world thinks of her. Tricks that work on ordinary women are all useless on her." Chapter 3462. "Why?" he asked, puzzled. Wanyan Qianhua had been his for a long time, and she was pregnant with his child. Furthermore, he knew that she liked him. Since that was the case, why didn't she agree when he said that he wanted to marry her? Why didn't she want to marry him when he wanted to marry her? Fengjiu looked at the man who was tilting his head and looking at her with a puzzled expression. Hearing his strange words, she sighed softly in her heart. He was yet another person who didn't know anything about relationship. You'll have to figure this out yourself. Some things can only be understood but not expressed in words. She waved her hand and said, "Since you already know about my sister's pregnancy, then I'll tell you some things to take note of. You have to be more careful, and don't make her angry at the slightest thing." She glanced at him and said, "A woman's temper is not very good when she's pregnant, but it's easy to affect the fetus if you lose your temper and get angry, so you have to take note of everything." Jun Ju Shang listened attentively. He stood with his hands behind his back, listening to Feng Jiu's words. Only after she had told him some things to take note of did she leave. Looking at her leaving figure, he thought for a moment and walked back. He wanted to see what that woman was doing. Feng Jiu stepped down from the Peach Blossom Cove and walked leisurely towards the city. Her sister had Wanyan Shisan and the kitchen maid to take care of her. Now that Jun Ju Shang was there, she didn't have to worry. But now, as the days passed, the day of her wedding was getting closer and closer, but Xianyuan Mose still hadn't returned. She wondered where he was now. As she walked, she thought about things. Suddenly, her footsteps paused. She raised her eyes and looked in a certain direction, only to see that the mountain path in the forest was quiet and secluded. She didn't see anyone else. "Since you're here, why don't you come out?" Feng Jiu asked. Her gaze fell on a certain direction until she saw a figure walk out from behind a tree. A trace of surprise flashed across her eyes. "It's you." Feng Jiu looked at the person in surprise. It was Ishuran, whom she hadn't seen for a few years. "TSK, you still remember me?" Ishuran crossed his arms over his chest. Seeing that he had been discovered, he stopped hiding and strode toward her, his complicated gaze landing on her. He hadn't seen her for a few years, and he didn't expect her to grow to such a powerful level. Back then, he wasn't her opponent, and now, he had to look up to her. Indeed, only that man had the qualifications to stand by her side. Looking at the person in front of her, Feng Jiu smiled. After a few years, she knew that this person didn't have any ill intentions towards her. At least, he wasn't her enemy. What's more, she no longer cared about the small matters of the past. Naturally, her smile became more sincere. "Since you're here, then stay for the wedding banquet." Ishuran fell silent for a moment before asking, "Why didn't he come back with you? How have you been these past few years?" "Mose? He still has some things to do, so he'll be here later." Feng Jiu smiled and said, "I've been living quite well these past few years. I'm just about to go back home. Let's go. I'll introduce you to someone in the residence." Ishuran hesitated for a moment before following her into the city. The two walked leisurely as if they were taking a leisurely stroll, occasionally chatting. Chapter 3463. "I'll probably stay here for a while." Feng Jiu smiled. "Oh right, you might not know this, but I'm already the lord of this world. I even connected the upper and lower realms with the immortal path. If you're interested in the future, you can also go to the upper realms to take a look and gain experience." Ishuran was taken aback. He lost his composure and exclaimed, What did you say? You've become the lord of the lower realms? When did this happen?" "Some time ago, I think. When we returned," she said nonchalantly. "Now that I'm a divine king, I naturally have the ability to dominate this world. The 4 guardians of Heaven's Corner have already submitted to me." As she walked, she plucked a leaf from the roadside and played with it. "Back then, we still used the Immortal Ascension stairs to go to the upper realms, but we don't need to anymore. However, the news hasn't spread, so not many people know about it." Ishuran listened in a daze, completely at a loss for words. He knew she had become much stronger, but he didn't expect her strength to be so inconceivably strong. What kind of existence was a god king? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. Swish! Suddenly, a cold arrow shot toward them. Yixiran was so stunned that he forgot to react. Feng Jiu heard the faint sound and raised a brow. He glanced over and waved his hand. A gust of air rushed out and repelled the cold arrow. As the cold arrow shot back, a muffled groan faintly came from the darkness. The smell of blood permeated the mountain path. The next moment, several dozen black figures darted out and surrounded the two. Where did you get into trouble? Feng Jiu glanced sideways at Yixiran, then his clear eyes swept over those people. Yixiran returned to his senses and glanced at the black-clothed men. His expression darkened. Truly persistent. The next moment, his figure shot out, and a cold light streaked toward the black-clothed men. No matter what, you're an old friend of mine. An old friend that I haven't seen for a long time has been ambushed. Moreover, it's in my territory. If I were to just stand there and watch, it wouldn't be right. Feng Jiu chuckled and plucked the leaves from the branches in his hand. With a wave of his hand, the leaves shot towards the black-clothed men. The leaves, which contained hidden energy, turned into hidden weapons. Each leaf carried a sharp and austere aura. Wherever the leaves passed, the black-clothed men also fell down with miserable screams. Some of the black-clothed men tried to block it, but they were unable to block the small leaf. The smell of blood filled the mountain path. As more and more corpses appeared on the ground, the black-clothed men were shocked. They looked at the red-clothed Feng Jiu in shock. However, before they could recover their wits and flee, they fell to the ground with wide eyes. Yixiran turned around and looked at Feng Jiu. When he saw her smiling at him, his gaze couldn't help but flicker. He wiped his sword clean and put it away. Do you need help? Feng Jiu asked. No need. I can handle it myself. As Yixiran spoke, he glanced at the corpses on the ground and decided that he would uproot this faction when he returned. Chapter 3464. Inside the Feng Manor, Guan Shilin was blaming himself for spilling the beans. He waited in the manor for a long time without seeing Feng Jiu return. Just as he was about to return to his own manor, he saw two people walk in. Xiao Jiu, you're finally back. How was it? Did he really go to Peach Blossom Cove? Guan Shilin asked. Just as he finished speaking, he saw someone following him. Focusing his eyes, he couldn't help but be startled. It's you! Yixiran nodded slightly, which could be considered a greeting. In truth, he knew most of the people at Feng Jiu's side. Brother, don't worry, it's fine. She smiled and asked, You've been waiting here the entire time? I was worried that, if the two of them met, something might happen. I was worried, so I didn't go home yet, Guan Shilin said. Hearing this, Feng Jiu said, Then you go and take a look first. Although our two residences are close, sister-in-law is at home with the child. You can't stay here all day. I originally wanted to go back and take a look, but since you said it's fine, I'll go back first and come back later. Saying this, he nodded at Yixiran and left first. Master. Leng Hua walked over from nearby. After bowing to Feng Jiu, his gaze landed on Yixiran and he warmly smiled. Young Master Yi. Yixiran looked over and saw that Leng Hua's cultivation level was above his. He couldn't help but exclaim in shock. How did your strength increase so quickly? Leng Hua warmly smiled and said, Because my master is the ghost doctor. It was a simple sentence, but it carried a boundless meaning. Because his master was the ghost doctor, his strength increased so quickly. Because his master was the ghost doctor, the pride in his tone and expression naturally flowed out. Hearing this, a complicated look flashed through Yixiran's eyes. That's right. They were Feng Jiu's people, so how could they be ordinary? Leng Hua, go and have the kitchen prepare a few dishes and send them to the garden. I'll treat him to a drink, Feng Jiu said, motioning for him to leave. Yes, sir, Leng Hua replied. He bowed slightly and left. She led Yixiran to the garden. Not long after they sat down, Du Fan walked in with a few people. When he saw Feng Jiu in the garden pavilion, Du Fan smiled and called out, Mistress, Sir Gu is here. Fengjiu was stunned. He looked up and saw Gu Xiangyi standing beside Du Fan. When she saw him, she smiled and asked, "Why are you here? Have you taken care of everything in the family?" Gu Xiangyi walked forward and bowed to her before saying, "Everything in the family has been taken care of. My father is in charge of some matters. I knew you were preparing for the wedding, so I thought I'd come over to see if there was anything I could help with." "It's good that you're here," Fengjiu said with a smile. "Sit. This is Yi Shuran. He's also here to attend the wedding." After the two got to know each other, they sat down and chatted. Du Fan retreated. Not long after, a servant girl came up with food and wine. When evening came, Fengjiu saw that the two were a little drunk, so he had someone take them away to rest. When she returned to the courtyard, she asked someone to prepare a bath for her. She leaned lazily against the bathtub and closed her eyes. When she heard the sound of the door being pushed open, she said, "Leng Shuang, the water is a little cold. Bring in some hot water." Chapter 3465. She saw Xianyuan Mose, dressed in a black robe, slowly walk over. As he walked, he untied his belt, which made her a little stunned. Xianyuan Mose took off his robes and stepped into the large bathtub naked. He sat down in front of her and reached out to flick the water. The water droplets splashed onto her face, and his low, magnetic laughter traveled into her ears. "It's not like you haven't seen it before. Why are you so stunned?" His low voice carried a happy smile. It was clear that her expression pleased him. She saw that his palms were filled with spiritual energy. In the next moment, the water that was gradually cooling became warm again. Traces of steam rose from the water and filled the space between the two. Fengjiu recovered and a smile appeared on her face. "Why didn't you tell me you were coming back? I was still thinking today and didn't know when you would come back." As she said this, he reached out and pulled her into his embrace. She was naked from head to toe. Being held in his arms like this, the feeling of their skin touching made her feel that the temperature of the bathtub seemed to be hotter than before. Although she was a little shy in her heart, she did not struggle or wriggle. She just quietly leaned in his arms and let him hold her. "I wanted to give you a surprise when I came back, so I didn't tell you." As Xianyuan Mose spoke, his hands under the water gently caressed her waist. "I've already asked my father's side to prepare, and I've also instructed people to decorate the manor. I heard them say that we can't meet before the wedding, so I thought of secretly coming over to see you before leaving." "You don't plan on staying here for a few more days?" Fengjiu was slightly surprised. "Aren't you tired from running back and forth?" Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose's lips slightly hooked. "You don't want me to leave?" As he spoke, his hands moved up her waist. "Don't mess around, I'm talking to you about serious matters." Fengjiu glared at him with a red face and pulled his mischievous hands down. Xianyuan Mose gave a low laugh. "I came back to accompany you for a few days this time, then I have to leave. I have to go back and prepare for the wedding. I can't leave everything to the servants." As he spoke, he handed her the towel beside the bathtub. "Help me wipe my back." Fengjiu took it and then moved from his embrace to his back. Xianyuan Mose leaned against the bathtub and said, "You can stay here for a while. I'll come pick you up when the time comes." Fengjiu helped him scrub his back as she said, "I reckon that when we get married, there will be a lot of people who will come to congratulate us." When I entered the residence, I saw Gu Xiangyi and Yi Shuran also come, Xianyuan Mose said with narrowed eyes. And then Gu Xiangyi happened to find out that his family was in trouble when we came back, so I helped him out in passing. After he took care of his family's matters, he came over to see if there was anything he needed help with. As for Yi Shuran, I just saw him today. The two chatted idly until the water gradually cooled. Xianyuan Mose turned around and stood up. He said to Fengjiu, "The water's cold, don't soak anymore." As he spoke, he stepped out of the bathtub and used a large towel to wipe the water off his body. Then, he scooped Fengjiu out of the bathtub and wrapped her in a large towel before walking to the bed. Chapter 3466. Their warm lips pressed against each other, and the passionate kiss made her a little breathless. However, just as she was about to push him away, he had already laid down beside her. At the same time, he reached out to pull up the blanket to cover her. With a pair of large hands, she rolled into his embrace. Audiobook, I'm really looking forward to the day of our wedding. Hearing his words, Fengjiu's heart was burning with passion. She reached out to wrap her arms around his waist and said with a smile, You've waited for so many years. Now that the day of our wedding is right in front of us, you're in such a hurry. I'm in a hurry to make you my woman, he said in a low voice. Because he had rushed all the way back, he was a little sleepy. Now that he was holding her in his arms, he gradually closed his eyes and fell asleep. Feeling his breathing slow, as if he had fallen asleep, Fengjiu raised her head slightly to take a look, then quietly nestled in his arms. The next day, Xianyuan Mose and Fengjiu went to see the elders of the Feng family together to discuss the marriage. Then, the two slowly walked in the garden, enjoying this rare moment of peace. Linghua walked over from the path. When he saw the two of them, he bowed and said, Master, Ning Lang and the others have arrived. They're currently going to the front yard to see the old master and the others. It seems that they've also received the news. Fengjiu chuckled and walked into the pavilion with Xianyuan Mose while saying to Linghua, Let them come over later. Speaking of which, I haven't seen them for many years. Yes. Linghua responded and then retreated. Howard hasn't been running around in front of you recently? Xianyuan Mose asked. After the maidservant served tea and pastries, he poured a cup of tea for Fengjiu. Fengjiu picked up a piece of pastry and ate it. He smiled and said, Ever since I came back, Howard has been called by my father and the others. In name, they are giving him pointers on cultivation and martial arts. In reality, there are also children as young as him in the family. Now that they see him, they all like him very much. Moreover, my brother often brings his son over to accompany Hao. Throughout the day, I probably only see him when we eat. The two of them chatted, drank tea, and ate pastries. Not long after, they heard footsteps approaching. Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mose looked in the direction of the voice and saw a few men in luxurious clothes with extraordinary bearing walking over, while chatting and laughing. Xianyuan Mose glanced at them, then looked away indifferently. He picked up the teapot and poured some hot tea for Fengjiu. He also knew those people. He didn't expect them to become more mature after so many years. Fengjiu also sized them up. Compared to their youthful appearances a few years ago, they were more mature now. Moreover, each of them had a more outstanding bearing. Well, they came from extraordinary backgrounds and had high standards. After a few years, it was normal for them to become more outstanding. Thinking of this, she smiled and said, We haven't seen each other for a few years. It seems that all of you are doing well. Song Ming, Ning Lang, and the others looked at Fengjiu. They saw that she was still dressed in red and dazzling. She sat there lazily and casually, but exuded an extraordinary noble aura. They couldn't help but be moved. When he had first met her, she was full of mischievous and cunning aura. Now, as time passed, the mischievous and cunning aura on her body had been restrained. What replaced it was only elegance and indifference. Chapter 3467. However, although her aura had changed, her appearance was still as dazzling and captivating as ever. Looking at this woman who was both a teacher and a friend to them, they adjusted their expressions and stepped forward to cup their hands in greeting. Greetings, Yama Lord, Ghost Doctor. With Xianyuan Mose and Fengjiu's current stature, they were too insignificant. As they grew up, they naturally couldn't call Fengjiu by her name like they used to. It was a little offensive. Although they still preferred to call her Fengjiu, they felt a little helpless because of the warnings from their elders before they left. Hearing how they addressed her, Fengjiu raised her eyebrows and said with a half-smile, You guys are becoming distant with me. You used to call me by my name. What's wrong? What are you doing with your hands and feet tied? Hearing her words, they blushed and couldn't help but look at each other. In the end, Song Ming stepped forward and said with a smile, "It's not that we want to be distant with you, but when we left, the elders in our families told us to control our temper and not be too impudent in front of you. Furthermore, when we came over, we heard from Ling Hua that you're already the ruler of this world. This made us even more afraid to call you by your name." Hearing this, Fengzhi laughed softly. "I didn't think that there would be a day when you guys wouldn't dare." Looking at their expressions, she seemed to be very happy. "Alright, it's not like I don't know what kind of people you are. There's no need to put on an act in front of me. Just do what's comfortable. There's no need for so many rules." When they heard this, their faces broke into smiles. "We're relieved to hear that. Fengzhi, you're too much. You and the Yama Lord are getting married, and you didn't even send us an invitation. You didn't even inform us. If we hadn't heard the news, we wouldn't have known that you were back." Luo Fei said. "There were a lot of things to do this time, so I didn't send out the invitations. Moreover, I also know that once the news spreads, you will also come. It's the same whether I have an invitation or not." She chuckled and said to Ling Hua, "Set up a small table in this garden and invite Gu Xiangyi and the others over for a gathering." "Okay." Ling Hua responded, then turned around and left. "Fengzhi, how long do you plan to stay here this time? Are you going to settle down here or go back to the upper realm?" Ning Lang asked as his eyes fell on Xianyuan Mose and Fengzhi. Their strength had increased rapidly over the years, but they had not expected that when they saw them again, they were actually god kings. Such heaven-defying existences were actually right in front of them. Fengzhi ate a pastry and said casually, "It's hard to say. Maybe we'll stay a little longer, or maybe we'll go back to live there. However, Ling Hua probably hasn't told you yet, right? There's an immortal path between the upper realm and the lower realm. When the time comes, if you want to go, you can also go to the upper realm to take a look." Hearing this, they couldn't help but look at each other in disbelief. Song Ming asked, "You mean, no matter what cultivation level we have, we can also go to the upper realm?" "Yes, that's right." Chapter 3468. Xianyuan Mose didn't really like pastries, but when she handed it to him, he opened his mouth and ate it. After eating the pastry, he took a sip of tea. The taste is alright. It's not very sweet." In his heart, he thought that since she liked it, he would have the servants at his residence make more pastries that she liked. Song Ming and the others watched the two people feeding each other in the pavilion and couldn't help but be dumbfounded. "We're still standing here, alright? They're actually flaunting their affection right in front of us?" For a moment they couldn't leave, but they couldn't stay either. This made them feel a little awkward. Fengzhi glanced at them from the corner of his eye, then chuckled. "Do you guys want to try it too?" As he spoke, he picked up a pastry and suddenly attacked Song Ming. Song Ming was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly reacted and reached out to catch it. He deflected the force of the attack with his palm, preventing the pastry from breaking into pieces and lying in his palm. However, when Song Ming caught the pastry, Fengzhi threw another 3 pieces at Ning Lang and the other 2. Seeing that they all caught the pastries, Fengzhi smiled and said, "Open your hands for me to see." Song Ming opened his hands and said with a smile, "If you want to test our skills, you should at least give us a warning. This sudden attack really gave me a fright." His pastry was intact and didn't break. Because Luo Fei, Ning Lang, and the others were half a beat slower, they crushed a corner of the pastry in their hand. At this moment, they saw Fengzhi's gaze and couldn't help but smile in embarrassment. I accidentally used too much strength." At this moment, Ling Hua had people bring small wine tables over and place them in the garden. Gu Xiangyi and Yi Shuran also walked over. Everyone gathered in the garden and looked at each other before introducing themselves. Fengzhi took out some wine from the space to entertain them. As they drank the wine on the table, they gradually loosened their restraints. On the other side, the white-clothed Emochen stood before her master at the peak of Celestial Mountain. She gave a simple report of what had happened in the past few years to her master. After a long time, she did not hear her master speak, so she raised her head to look. Tianjizi listened to Imo Chen's words and did not speak for a long time. When he saw Tianjizi looking at him, he could not help but sigh softly. So, in these 5 years, you have been cultivating in the sacred tower, and have not been able to sever your feelings? Imo Chen didn't expect his master to say this right away. He paused for a moment, then pursed his lips and lowered his head. He didn't say anything, because he didn't know what to say. The air seemed to have quieted down. Outside, snowflakes drifted down and the cold wind whistled, breaking the silence of that moment. Tianjizi sighed softly. Silly child. He shook his head and stood up. With his hands behind his back, he walked slowly and looked at the vast expanse of whiteness outside. After a long while, he said, So, Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mose are preparing to get married? Yes, they are preparing to go back and get married. This disciple wants to attend their wedding banquet, so I came back to see Master before I left. I also wanted to tell Master about what had happened in the past few years. Chapter 3469. Hearing this, Tianjizi sighed and said, Forget it, go. As he spoke, he turned around and slowly walked away, leaving Imo Chen standing alone at the peak, watching the snowflakes fall from the sky. After a long time, he raised his hand to brush off the snowflakes on his body and walked down the mountain step by step. Phoenix Dynasty, Feng Manor. After staying in Feng Manor for a few days, Xianyuan Mose bid farewell to the elders in the manor and prepared to leave. Fengjiu sent him out of the city. Along the way, their fingers were interlocked and they did not speak. Only when they reached the city gates did they stop. Go back. Wait for me to marry you. As Xianyuan Mose spoke, he reached out and tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear, feeling a trace of reluctance in his heart. Fengjiu looked at him and reached out to hold his hand, gently saying, Be careful on the road. I'll wait for you. Xianyuan Mose made a sound of agreement and looked at her deeply. Then, he turned to look at Hao and reminded him, Be good. Yes, father. Hao responded and looked up at him. Ghost Doctor, we'll be leaving first. Hui Lang and Ying Yi bowed to her with smiles on their faces. After waiting for so many years, their master could finally marry the Ghost Doctor. Thinking that perhaps in another year or two, they would have a little master, they felt even more joyful. There was even a faint trace of anticipation. They really wanted to see who the child born from their master and Dr. Ghost would look like. Go. Fengjiu nodded slightly and smiled. Hui Lang and Ying Yi cupped their hands to Ling Hua and Ling Shuang, who was holding Hao Er's hand, then quickly followed their master and left. After watching them leave in the flying ship, Fengjiu looked at Hao and smiled. Since we're all out, Mother will bring you to Peach Blossom Cove. You haven't been there to play yet. Hao Er's eyes lit up. Is it where Aunt Qianhua lives? And it's there. Fengjiu reached out and pinched his cheeks. She picked him up and threw Feiyu to sit down with Hao. Ling Hua and Ling Shuang rode on their swords and followed beside her, heading to Peach Blossom Cove. In the Peach Blossom Cove, Jun Jueshang was looking at Wanyan Qianhua, who was swinging on the swing, with a dark face. He was guarding by her side, his heart jumping up and down as she swung. He was afraid that she would accidentally fly out. Wanyan Qianhua acted as if she didn't see him. She grabbed the rope of the swing with both hands and swung. She had been pregnant for a few months, and the fetus had stabilized. She knew that there wouldn't be any accidents when swinging. After all, in her opinion, swinging was not a big deal. But when she saw Jun Jueshang standing by her side, she was speechless. Every time she swung forward, his gaze would follow closely. Every time she swung, his gaze would follow closely. Being stared at by him like that, even when she swung on the swing, she felt uncomfortable. Have you seen enough? What do you want to do by following me all day? Wanyan Qianhua's temper rose again. She stopped and stared at Jun Jueshang angrily. Chapter 3470. Ha! Wanyan Qianhua sat on the swing and sneered. How would I dare to trouble the Xiao Yao sex patriarch to accompany me? You're a high and mighty person. You're not in the same world as me. You'd better stay away from me. Jun Zhushang glanced at her when he heard her strange words and said, You were the one who provoked me first. You raped me and you're pregnant with my child. Now you want to kick me away? Wanyan Qianhua choked. Her beautiful eyes glared at him angrily. What do you mean by I provoked you first? Who was the one who saved me? If you hadn't saved me, would I have pestered you? She snorted and said, Besides, you're the one who took advantage of her. I've never heard of a man being taken advantage of. As for the child, it has nothing to do with you. I've already said it 800 times, the child is mine. Jun Zhushang looked at her with a strange look in his eyes. He didn't expect such sophistry to come out of her mouth. It was really surprising. Could it be that all women were so unreasonable when they wanted to act shamelessly? He knew he couldn't get through to her, so he didn't bicker with her. He just walked forward and asked, Do you want to walk back with me? Or do you want me to carry you back? Looking at him walking over step by step, Wanyan Qianhua thought of some of the tough methods he had used these days. She immediately stood up and said, It's not like I don't have legs. As she spoke, she brushed her dress and walked back. Jun Zhushang saw her go back, and he followed her at a moderate pace. The two of them walked, and they could faintly hear Wanyan Qianhua's disdainful voice. Wanyan Shisan was lying on a peach tree and drinking wine. He glanced at the direction the two of them left, and couldn't help but shake his head and mutter, They're really two enemies. Since Jun Zhushang had come, he hadn't been of any use. He had nothing to do all day. However, the two of them were quite interesting. They wouldn't stop fighting if they didn't quarrel for a day. Of course, he could see that Jun Zhushang had been giving way to his niece, Qianhua. Jun Zhushang's good temper had surprised him. However, he didn't know when these two people would stop. He tilted his head back and drank a mouthful of wine, then closed his eyes and fell asleep on the tree. He thought that it would be good to find time to take a stroll around Fengjiu's residence. At this moment Fengjiu, who had already arrived at the Peach Blossom Cove, said to Howard, Look, this is the Peach Blossom Cove. Is it nice? As she spoke, she put away Flying Feather, and the two landed steadily. Looking at the peach blossom forest before him, Howard's eyes lit up. Mother, do the peach trees here bear peaches? And they do. The peach blossoms here come in batches. Some are blooming, and some are bearing fruit. There are flowers and fruits all year round. She chuckled and gestured. Go and play by yourself. Just don't leave the Peach Blossom Cove. Howard replied, then turned to look at Ling Shuang. Aunt Shuang, can you come with me? Go. Fengjiu gestured for Ling Shuang to accompany him. Thus, the two of them walked towards the Peach Blossom Forest. After seeing them enter the Peach Blossom Forest, Fengjiu brought Ling Hua to find Jun Zhushang and Wanyan Qianhua. Behind them, Yishuran, Gu Xiangyi, and Du Fan were also heading towards the Peach Blossom Cove. Chapter 3471. This is nourishing. It's suitable for you. Jun Zhushang scooped a bowl of soup and placed it in front of her. If this is nourishing, what is this for? Wanyan Qianhua pointed at another bowl of soup and asked angrily. Jun Zhushang glanced at it and said, It's for the baby. What about this? She pointed at another bowl and asked. It's for the heart and lungs. Her temper was not very good recently. Her heart was too hot. That was why he asked people to make these soup. Anyway, they were suitable for pregnant women. Hearing these words, Wanyan Qianhua was so angry that she could not speak. She took a deep breath and stood up. She turned around and went into the room. She locked the door. Out of sight, out of mind. Seeing this, Jun Zhushang frowned. He stared at the soup on the table for a while and finally said, You have to drink at least one. No. Take it away. If you want to drink it yourself. Wanyan Qianhua's voice came from the room. Fengjiu walked in and heard this. He could not help but chuckle. What's wrong now? She glanced at the things on the table, and raised her eyebrows. She walked forward and opened them to smell. Then she looked at Junjueshang. Are all these things for my sister? She only had a bowl of soup this morning. Junjueshang said. Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled and said, I haven't eaten anything since I came out of the house. Well, I can drink some of the other soup except for the one for the baby. While speaking, she had already scooped a bowl of soup for herself. She shouted to Wanyan Qianhua in the room, Sister, come out and eat with me. Wanyan Qianhua in the room heard that Fengjiu had come. She was about to come out. However, thinking that Junjueshang was still there, she did not move. Now that she heard Fengjiu calling her out to drink soup with her, she thought for a while and opened the door and walked out. You little girl, why didn't you eat at home? Why did you come here? What's so good about this soup? Wanyan Qianhua said with a look of disdain. She said to Ling Hua, Go to the kitchen and ask someone to cook 2 dishes. Bring 2 bowls of rice here. Your master can't eat enough soup alone. Ling Hua smiled and nodded. Fengjiu. Seeing that it was her, Wanyan Qianhua didn't say anything. He took the bowl and drank half of it. Who knew that as soon as he finished, another bowl of soup was pushed over. This. As Junjueshang spoke, he pushed the bowl of soup in front of her. However, he saw that her face immediately darkened. Fengjiu saw it and could not help laughing. She did not ask her to drink the soup. Instead, she said, Sister, give me your hand. I'll check your pulse and see how the baby is. Wanyan Qianhua suppressed her anger when she heard Fengjiu's words. She held out her hand and said worriedly, Take a look. I feel that my temper is not very good these days. Will it affect the baby? Fengjiu checked her pulse. She took her hand back and said with a smile, Your pulse is very stable. Don't worry. But you should try to keep your mood relaxed. The baby can feel your happy mood. She looked at Junjueshang and asked, How are your skills? Junjueshang did not know what she meant. He looked at her and said, Not bad. Chapter 34:72. Hearing this, Junjueshang was slightly startled. He looked at Wanyan Qianhua and glanced at her abdomen. He nodded and said, Yes, I understand. Wanyan Qianhua ignored him. She looked at Fengjiu and asked, There's only about a month left until you and Mose get married. Why do you keep coming here? Don't you need help with the matters in the residence? Fengjiu smiled and said, My parents are taking care of those matters. I don't need to do anything. As for the wedding dress and the like, Mose told me that he'll prepare it. After a while, he'll send someone to deliver it to me. So right now, I can be said to be the most idle person here. Once the news of your marriage spreads, it can be said that it has caused a sensation in both the upper world and the lower world. I'm worried that someone will take the opportunity to cause trouble. Wanyan Qianhua said. She was worried about their wedding. Forget about the people in the lower world. But in the upper world, as well as the hidden enemies, would they take advantage of their wedding to cause trouble? Fengjiu shook his head and said, No, I don't think they have the guts. They had also discussed this matter. However, in the end, they felt that their enemies would not dare to use their wedding as an excuse to cause trouble. Not to mention the fact that they were god kings, the people who would come to congratulate them would be experts from all over the world. Those people would have to be tired of living to cause a ruckus at such an occasion. The two of them chatted while drinking soup. Junjueshang sat quietly to the side. From time to time, he would add soup for Wanyan Qianhua when she was talking to Fengjiu and not paying attention. This continued until Ling Hua personally brought the dishes over. With Fengjiu accompanying her, Wanyan Qianhua ate half a bowl of rice. In the peach blossom forest, Hao wandered around and met Wanyan Shisan, who was a little tipsy. Ling Shuang? And this kid? Why are you here? Wanyan Shisan narrowed his eyes, burped and asked, Fengjiu is here too? Seeing that he was slightly drunk and his body was swaying, Ling Shuang took half a step back and said, Master is in the front courtyard. Oh, Wanyan Shursan replied. He looked at the two of them and asked, You're not going? We're going to pick peaches, Hao Er said. He looked at him and said, You're drunk. As he spoke, he pulled Ling Shuang back a little because he didn't like the smell of alcohol on him. Wanyan Shursan grinned and laughed. Drunk? How can I get drunk so easily? He reached out to touch Hao Er's head, but Hao Er stepped back and tripped over a rock. He lost his balance and fell back with Ling Shuang. Be careful, Ling Shuang said. He moved and reached out to support him. Unexpectedly, Wanyan Shursan saw him fall back and also reached out to support him. At this time, the two of them came together unexpectedly and almost collided. Ling Shuang instinctively moved back to avoid them, but because he was pulled by Hao Er, he also fell to the ground. Wanyan Shursan instinctively wanted to avoid it. However, he, who was slightly drunk, inadvertently glanced at Ling Shuang and saw that there was a sharp stone as big as a fist on the ground behind her. If he let her fall, she would be hurt. At that moment, he, who was about to retreat, leaned forward and reached out to hold her waist. He pulled her up together with Hao Er, who was about to fall. Chapter 34-73. However, at this moment, Wanyan Shursan let go of his hand and took a step back. He burped and staggered backward, waving his hand. Be careful, don't fall. There are stones on the ground. I'm going back to sleep. As he spoke, he turned to leave. However, he saw Du Fan and the others standing not far away. He grinned and said, Why are you all here? There are so many unfamiliar faces. Du Fan, Gu Xiangyi, and the others had seen the scene just now. When they saw that the two people's expressions were normal, they suppressed their surprise and walked forward. Du Fan smiled and said, They have nothing to do, so I accompanied them to the Peach Blossom Cove for a walk. Ling Shuang was about to leave with Hao Er, but when he saw them, he also walked forward. Do you need me to accompany you? Wanyan Shursan asked with a smile. There was a hint of drunkenness on his face. His body swayed slightly as he said, I've lived here for a long time and I'm familiar with this place. If you need me to accompany you, I don't mind drinking with you. Du Fan fanned himself with the fan in his hand and walked in front of him. He smiled and said, No need, I'll just walk with them. We're all family, so there's no need to be so formal. Seeing this, Wanyan 13 nodded and said, That's fine. You can do whatever you want. As he spoke, he hummed a tuneless tune and walked back with swaying step. After he left, Du Fan looked at Ling Shuang and Hao. Do you want to walk around the Peach Blossom Forest too? Yes, Ling Shuang responded and did not say anything else. Hao Er said, I want to see the peaches. In that case, let's go together. Du Fan smiled and looked at the people behind him. He asked, What do you all think? It's my first time here. I want to see the beautiful scenery here. It's great to have you all accompany me, Gu Xiangyi said. Yishuran glanced at the surroundings and said, I'd better just walk around casually. You guys go ahead. He was not very interested in the peach blossom forest. Rather than looking at the peach blossoms and peaches, he would rather find a place to sit down and drink. The four of us walked around the last time we came back, so we won't be going. Song Ming smiled and looked at Luo Fei and the others. How about we find a place to drink? My thoughts exactly. Duan Yi, Luo Fei and Ning Lang replied. Seeing this, Du Fan smiled and looked at Ling Shuang. If that's the case, I'll accompany them. I'll leave young Master Gu to Ling Shuang. Hearing this, Ling Shuang was stunned and Gu Xiangyi's eyes flashed. She smiled at Ling Shuang and said, Sorry to trouble you. Ling Shuang nodded slightly and then walked with him and Hao Er to the peach forest. Seeing them leave, the others smiled and walked to the other side, ready to find a place to sit down and drink. Gu Xiangyi, who was walking with Ling Shuang in the peach blossom forest, suddenly felt that the two of them walking like this did not know what to talk about. She felt a little awkward in the silence. After walking for a while, Hao Er saw another peach blossom forest in front of them. Seeing that there were peaches there, he ran forward excitedly, leaving the two of them walking behind. Thank you so much for last time. Gu Xiangyi opened her mouth and broke the silence between the two. Chapter 34-74. You've already thanked Master, she said faintly and walked forward unhurriedly. Gu Xiangyi looked ahead and said, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have met Fengjiu. So, I still have to thank you. Hearing this, Ling Shuang didn't say anything. She just walked quietly and looked at Hao who was playing in the peach forest. Gu Xiangyi quietly accompanied him. The two of them came to the peach forest and stood under a peach tree, watching Hao climb up the tree. Aunt Shuang, can we pick some peaches to take back? Hao asked from the tree. Looking at the mouth-watering peaches, he couldn't help but pick one, wipe it clean, and take a bite. Yes, pick more. Give some to Miss Wanyan and the others, and bring some back to the residence, Ling Shuang said and took out 2 baskets from his space. When Hao heard this, he happily agreed. He ate the peach in his hand in a few bites. Then, he picked the biggest peach and threw it down. Auntie Shuang, catch. Ling Shuang stood below and caught the peaches. He put the peaches in the basket. After picking 2 baskets full of peaches, Ling Shuang was about to lift them when he saw Gu Xiangyi bending down to pick them up. I'll do it, Gu Xiangyi said and looked at her and Hao. Are we going back? Ling Shuang looked at Hao and Hao agreed. Then, the 3 of them walked back. Fengjiu accompanied Wanyan Qianhua out for a walk and saw a few people drinking under the peach tree. Seeing them, she raised her eyebrows. Why are you here? The scenery here is good. It's perfect for drinking and parties, Song Ming said and glanced at Fengjiu and Wanyan Qianhua, then looked at Jun Jueshang. Do you want to drink a few cups? Duan Yi asked. No, I just had dinner with my sister and was about to take a walk, Fengjiu said. Mother. Hao-er's voice came from nearby. Fengjiu looked over and saw the little figure running over. His little face was flushed with excitement. Mother, we picked peaches. He pointed behind him. Fengjiu looked over and saw Gu Xiangyi and Ling Shuang walking over. Gu Xiangyi was carrying 2 baskets of peaches. Seeing the 2 of them, Fengjiu smiled and rubbed Hao-er's head. Hao-er, go wash the peaches with Ling Shuang and cut some for everyone to eat. Okay, Hao-er replied and trotted to Ling Shuang's side. Gu Xiangyi put down the peaches and watched as Ling Shuang and Hao took some to wash. She then said, You didn't let anyone pick the peaches in the peach forest, did you? Someone will come regularly to pick them and brew them into wine. Fengjiu smiled and said, Since you're all here, I'll have someone bring some peach wine for you to try. As Fengjiu spoke, he looked at Ling Hua and gestured. Ling Hua understood and turned to leave. Not long after, he came back with a jar of wine and placed it next to everyone. I'll pour, Du Fan said and poured a cup for everyone. He also poured a cup for himself to try. The taste of peaches was thick in the mouth. The taste of the wine was not very strong, but the texture was very special. It made everyone feel that it was unique. The more they drank, the better it tasted. They stayed there until the sky gradually darkened. Only then did they return to the Feng Manor with Fengjiu. In the following days, because the day of the wedding approached, the Feng Manor became more and more joyous. About half a month passed. One morning, Hui Lang came to the Feng Manor with a smile on his face. Chapter 34-75. I'm here on Master's orders to deliver the wedding dress for the ghost doctor. Hui Lang said with a smile, asking, Has the ghost doctor woken up? She wouldn't still be sleeping right now, right? Du Fan looked at the sky and said, You've come early. Master is indeed still sleeping. As he spoke, he walked inside with him, saying, Go inside and tell Ling Shuang. Let Ling Shuang see if Master is awake. Hearing this, Hui Lang waved his hand and said, No rush, no rush. My master had me deliver something and left it here. I'm not in a hurry to go back. When the ghost doctor wakes up, I'll give it to her. Seeing this, Du Fan said, All right then. You're familiar with the manor, so you can go rest. I still have matters to attend to, so I won't accompany you. All right. Go ahead, Hui Lang said. He didn't ask him to accompany him and walked inside. In the manor's backyard, Feng Sanyuan was eating breakfast with Su Shi. Thinking of his youngest son, he couldn't help but sigh. Feng Yi wasn't able to come back when Feng Girl got married this time. I haven't seen him for many years. I wonder if that boy has grown taller? Speaking of which, he also missed his youngest son. It was just that when he sent him back that year, it was said that he couldn't leave the mountain until the time was right. He hadn't come back in all these years, so they also missed him. Hearing this, a longing expression appeared on Su Shi's face. She said, "That's right. I haven't seen Yer for many years. However, this can't be helped. After a few more years, when he leaves the mountain, he can come back to see us." After what happened that year, as long as her son was alive, it didn't matter if she couldn't see him. On the other side, Feng Xiao, who had just finished practicing, walked into the courtyard with large strides and called, "Wanrong." Shangguan Wanrong came out, looked at Feng Xiao and asked, "What's wrong?" "I just met Hui Lang in front. He said that Mo's asked him to send a wedding dress to Xiaojiu. Later, you can go to Xiaojiu's courtyard and see if there's anything that needs to be changed," Feng Xiao said as he sat down at the table and poured himself a glass of water. Hearing this, Shangguan Wanrong revealed a gentle smile. "Okay, I understand." She gave Feng Xiao a set of clothes and said, "I've already asked someone to prepare water for you. You just came back from practicing martial arts, so you're covered in sweat. Go take a bath. I've put your clothes here." Seeing her busy there, Feng Xiao laughed and said, "Let the servants do it. You don't have to do it. By the way, have you eaten breakfast?" "Not yet. We'll wait for you to come back so that we can eat together," Shangguan Wanrong said as she walked outside and told the maid to prepare. "How many times have I said that you don't have to wait for me? If you're hungry, you can eat first," Feng Xiao said as he walked towards the washroom and said, "I'll go change and eat with you later." "Okay." Shangguan Wanrong softly responded and asked, "Do you need me to help you wipe your back?" "No need. I can do it myself. I don't want to get your dress wet," Feng Xiao said as he let her go out first. Seeing this, Shangguan Wanrong went to sit in the courtyard and prepared to go to her daughter's courtyard after breakfast to see if there was anything that needed to be prepared. On the other side, Fengjiu walked out of the room after washing up and stretching. He went to the soft couch in the courtyard and lay down. He felt that the recent days had been too leisurely and boring. Chapter 3476. Fengjiu, who was lazily lying on the soft couch, heard this and immediately became alert. "Hui Lang is here? Why is he here? Where is he? Tell him to come." He said that he was following the Yama Lord's orders to deliver the wedding dress to Master. Because he came early in the morning, he didn't disturb Master. "I'll go call him over now," Leng Shuang said and then retreated. "Wedding dress?" Fengjiu lay back on the soft couch, her hands behind her head. She looked at the sky and thought, "Zay said that he would prepare the wedding dress. I wonder what kind of wedding dress he'll prepare?" It had to be said that at this moment she was really looking forward to it. Not long after, Leng Shuang and Hui Lang walked in together. "Ghost Doctor." Hui Lang smiled as he walked in. "Master told me to deliver the wedding dress. The Ghost Doctor will definitely like it." Fengjiu sat up and asked, "Where is it? Take it out and let me see." Hui Lang made a sound of agreement and then took out a large square box from his space. He carried the large box to Fengjiu and said to Leng Shuang, "Leng Shuang, help me open the box." Leng Shuang stepped forward and opened the large box, then retreated to the side. His eyes naturally looked towards the large box, and he couldn't help but be unable to move his eyes away. Fengjiu watched as the box was opened. In an instant, brilliant lights and vibrant colors shone out, causing her eyes to be dazzled. Although she didn't pick up the wedding dress and unfold it, just by looking at it, she knew that this wedding dress was very beautiful and dazzling. This was already beyond the scope of a wedding dress. It could be said that it was a dazzling immortal dress. The dazzling red and noble gold set off each other, so beautiful that it made people unable to move their eyes away. When Hui Lang saw the surprise in Fengjiu's eyes and the joy on his face, the smile on his face deepened. He was about to speak with a smug look on his face when he heard Shangguan Wanrong's voice behind him. "Xiaojiu, I heard that Mose asked Hui Lang to send you a wedding dress. What kind of wedding dress is it?" Shangguan Wanrong dismissed the two servant girls behind her and slowly walked in. When Hui Lang and Ling Shuang saw her, they hurriedly bowed and greeted her, "Madam." Shangguan Wanrong indicated that the two of them didn't need to be overly courteous and walked forward. "Mother." Fengjiu stood up and walked forward to support her hand. He smiled and said, "Mother, you've come just in time. Hui Lang just brought me the wedding dress. I'm just opening it and looking at it. I haven't taken it out yet." Shangguan Wanrong looked at the dazzling wedding dress in the box, and the smile on her face overflowed. "It's extremely beautiful just looking at it. Also, this wedding dress shouldn't be an ordinary item. It must have been hard on him to be able to find such a wedding dress for you in such a short time." Hui Lang listened and hurriedly nodded. "Madam has good eyes. This is indeed not an ordinary wedding dress." He grinned and looked at them. "This dress is called the Thousand Illusions Colored Glass Robe. Not only is it a wedding dress, it's also an immortal rank defensive dress. Furthermore, it can be changed into several styles at will. The golden thread on it is the scarlet flame golden thread that Master specially found. It's incomparably tough and hard to be broken by swords. Wearing this dress is said to be as light as a cicada's wing and extremely comfortable. You won't feel the weight of the dress at all." The more he spoke, the more excited he became. He said, "Ghost Doctor, do you want to try it first? This Thousand Illusions colored glass robe is a wedding dress. After wearing it, you'll feel different. Since Madam is also here, it'll be good to let her see it." Chapter 3477. Hearing this, Fengjiu thought for a moment, then said, "That's fine, let's try it on." Thus, she had Ling Shuang take the box containing the clothes from Hui Lang's hands, and walked towards the room. Hui Lang waited outside, while Shangguan Wanrong and Ling Shuang accompanied Fengjiu into the room to change. In the room, when Shangguan Wanrong and Ling Shuang took the clothes out of the box, they discovered that the new wedding dress was actually a long dress with a trailing tail, extremely luxurious and dazzling. Layers of light muslin overlapped, but it was as light as a cicada's wing, as smooth as silk. Shangguan Wanrong saw this, and her face overflowed with a smile. Quickly put it on and see. This wedding dress must be extremely beautiful on you." Seeing this, Fengjiu let the two of them help her put on the dress. Because it was a wedding dress, it looked grand and luxurious. The entire wedding dress was mainly red, supplemented by gold. On the red wedding dress, there was a lifelike phoenix embroidered with gold thread. The extremely long skirt, sleeves, and collar also had golden lotus flowers, dazzling and eye-catching. Just putting on this dress took nearly the time it takes to burn a stick of incense. After the new wedding dress was put on, Shangguan Wanrong looked at her daughter in front of her, and her eyes couldn't help but be filled with pride and amazement. "My daughter is really beautiful. This wedding dress really suits you." Wearing the luxurious and dazzling wedding dress, her entire body exuded a noble aura. That kind of innate noble aura forced people to be unable to look directly at her, leaving only heartfelt admiration. Fengjiu looked at the figure in the mirror, and couldn't help but purse her lips and smile. Following her thoughts, the luxurious and noble wedding dress on her body changed into a simple red dress. "This dress is really not bad," Fengjiu said, taking off the dress and having Ling Shuang fold it up and put it back into her red dress. Shangguan Wanrong said with a smile, "I originally thought it was an ordinary wedding dress, so I came to see if it fit and if it needed to be changed. I didn't expect it to be this kind of dress, and I don't even need to change it. Fengjiu held her mother's hand and walked out. Hui Lang, who was waiting outside, came up to them and asked with a grin, "Ghost Doctor, how are the clothes? Is it suitable?" Fengjiu pursed his lips and smiled. "It's suitable. I like it very much. I'll send a message to Zay later." "That's good." Hui Lang replied with a smile, "Master asked me to stay here. I will help out here during this period of time and wait for Master's wedding procession to arrive." As they were talking, they suddenly heard the sound of thunder in the sky. Fengjiu and the others were slightly surprised and looked up at the sky. "Strange, why is there thunder in broad daylight?" Hui Lang muttered as he looked at the sky. He saw that the sky was blue and white clouds, and it didn't look like it was going to rain. Hearing the sound of thunder, Fengjiu's eyes deepened. The smile on his face disappeared and his expression became thoughtful. Seeing her like this, Shangguan Wanrong couldn't help but worry and asked, "What's wrong?" Fengjiu smiled slightly and comforted, "It's nothing." Her voice paused and said, "Mother, you go back first. I want to go to Peach Blossom Cove." Hearing this, Shangguan Wanrong said, "Qian Hua lives in Peach Blossom Cove. It's not as good as living in the manor. Why don't you let her move in?" "No need, she likes it there. It's quiet there, and Jun Ju Shang and Wanyan Shisan are there. Don't worry about her," Fengjiu said with a smile. Chapter 3478. She was worried that she would bear everything in her heart. That lightning just now was not ordinary. However, she did not say anything. It seemed that she had to go back and ask Feng Xiao and the old man. "I know. Mother, don't worry." Fengjiu smiled and walked her out of the courtyard. He told the servant girl waiting outside, "Send Madame back." "Yes." The servant girl replied and went to Shangguan Wanrong's side. Shangguan Wanrong saw this and left without saying anything else. "Ghost Doctor, is there something wrong with that lightning?" Hui Lang asked after Shangguan Wanrong left. Fengjiu looked at the sky and thought deeply. It is indeed not ordinary lightning. It is the lightning of the Divine King realm. Ling Shuang and Hui Lang's expressions became serious when they heard this. Lightning of the Divine King realm? Their people were all here, so who would be the one to advance to the God King level? If it was someone on their side, it would be fine. However, if it was an enemy, it would be troublesome. Thinking of this, Grey Wolf asked, "Ghost Doctor, who do you think will become a divine king? Could it be young Master Mo Chen?" "It's not me." Suddenly, a gentle voice came from outside. Hearing that familiar voice, everyone in the courtyard looked out and saw Mo Chen, dressed in white, slowly walking in. "If it's not you, then it's very likely to be an enemy," Fengjiu said and smiled. "I thought you would only come on the day of my wedding." Mo Chen walked forward slowly and looked at her. "I was afraid that I would be delayed on the way, so I came here after going to Heaven Mountain. As soon as I arrived, I heard the sound of thunder in the sky." He paused for a moment before asking, "What are your plans?" "Before you came, I wanted to go to Peach Blossom Cove to discuss with Junjushang and Wanyan Shisan. The birth of another immortal king-level expert in this world was definitely not a small matter. It should be known that if it was an enemy, then the enemy's strength would increase by quite a bit. Between the upper and lower realms, apart from Sovereign Tongtian and Sovereign Xuanwu, only she and Mo Zhe had reached the Divine King realm. Before this, they had 3 divine kings on their side. On Sovereign Tongtian's side, apart from Sovereign Tongtian, the Demon Lord and the person with the Black Lotus of Destruction were the ones they feared the most. Just who exactly was this newly born God King level expert? They still had to find a way to find out. At the very least, they had to be mentally prepared so that they wouldn't be caught off guard one day. Then let's have someone check it out. Let's see who has advanced. Mo Chen looked at her and said, "Don't worry, I won't let anyone ruin your wedding with Mo's." Hearing this, Fengjiu looked at him deeply and said, "I don't think they will do anything on the day of the wedding. After all, there will be many experts who won't come to congratulate us. Even if they want to find a chance to attack us, they won't choose that time," she said, "but we still have to find out who has advanced. How about this? I'll make a trip to Peach Blossom Cove. You must be tired from the journey, so you can rest in the residence." "No need, I'll go with you," Emochin said. Chapter 3479. Jun Jushang was originally accompanying Wanyan Qianhua in the Peach Blossom Cove. Wanyan Shisan was also in the courtyard. When the three of them heard the commotion in the sky, they raised their heads and looked up in surprise. The heavenly lightning is not normal. It seems like someone has broken through. Wanyan Shisan rubbed his chin as he spoke. He stared at the sky for a while, then looked at Jun Jushang. "What do you think?" The heavenly lightning struck 3 times, and the fluctuations were extremely strong. This kind of fluctuation can only be caused by a divine king. Therefore, the person breaking through should have broken through the divine king realm. Jun Jushang said slowly as he poured Wanyan Qianhua a cup of hot tea. Hearing this, Wanyan Qianhua frowned slightly. "Another divine king? If it's true, then it's fine if it's from our side. But if it's from Sovereign Tong Tian's side, then I'm afraid it'll be troublesome. Since when was it so easy for a divine king to appear? First it was Xianyuan Mo's, then it was Fengjiu, and now it's someone who I don't know if they're friend or foe," Wanyan Shisan said. He looked at the other two and said, "If Fengjiu doesn't come later, then I'll go to Feng Manor to take a look. I'll see what she's planning." However, just as he said that, Wanyan Qianhua looked at the sky and smiled. "13th uncle, I don't think you need to go. Look, they're here." Jun Jushang and Wanyan Shisan followed her gaze and saw 2 figures, one red and one white, flying over on their swords. In the blink of an eye, they descended from the sky and landed in front of them. "It seems like you've also noticed the commotion. I originally wanted to discuss it with you, but I didn't expect you to be so fast." Wanyan Shisan laughed loudly. His gaze swept past Fengjiu and landed on Emochin. TSK, it seems like it's not you. Then it's really troublesome." He originally thought that the person breaking through to the Divine King realm would be Emochin. However, it seemed like that wasn't the case. "I'm still far from becoming a Divine King." Emochin smiled warmly as his gaze swept past them. "That's why I'll have to trouble you." Fengjiu Shang smiled as he walked forward and sat at the table. Hearing this, Wanyan Shisan raised his eyebrows and asked with interest, "What do you mean?" "I want you to go back and investigate. I want you to see who has entered the God King realm." Fengjiu paused for a moment before continuing, "I've been thinking about it, and you're the most suitable candidate. So, I can only trouble you. You want me to's Divine King, U.S. Wanyan Shisan rubbed his chin and said, "That's true. If someone from the righteous faction has become a Divine King, you'll only need to ask around a little to find out who it is. However, if you want to find out information about your enemies, I'll be the most suitable person." As he spoke, he thought for a while and looked at her. "But, if I go back and forth, what if I don't make it in time for your wedding?" Fengjiu laughed lightly. "There's still half a month's time. If you hurry up, you might be able to make it back in time for my wedding. If you really can't make it, then I'll invite you alone. I'll use my treasures to treat you. How about that?" "Ha ha ha ha, good. Then it's settled." Wanyan Shisan laughed loudly and said, "Then why don't you tell me, who do you think is the most likely person to become a Divine King? That way, I'll have a direction to work on and won't have to investigate blindly." Chapter 3480. The owner of the Black Lotus of Destruction? Wanyan Shisan was startled. Who is that? Also, this Black Lotus of Destruction, could it be the one from ancient times? Junjushang, Wanyan Qianhua, and Wanyan Shisan looked at Fengjiu. They knew that she had many enemies, but the Black Lotus of Destruction was a legendary treasure from ancient times. When did it appear? They had been in the upper world for so long, but they had never heard of it. Emotion, on the other hand, lowered her eyes and stood there quietly. No one knew what she was thinking. Fengjiu briefly told them about the Black Lotus of Destruction. In the end, he said, this is what I am worried about. If he really becomes a divine king, then he is a bigger threat than sovereign Tongtian. Hearing this, the expressions of the few people became somewhat solemn. Wanyan Shursan nodded. I know. Don't worry. I will leave now. I will investigate it as soon as possible. Be careful. The investigation is one thing, but don't meet him directly. If you can't meet him, you must find a way to leave. Otherwise, if you fall into his hands, it will be difficult to survive. Feng Jiu reminded him to be careful. Don't worry. I know what I am doing, Wanyan Shursan said. He looked at Junjushang and said, please take care of my niece. She is pregnant. She can't leave her side. You have to look after her. Junjushang looked at Wanyan Qianhua and said, okay. I can take care of myself. Why do I need him to take care of me? Wanyan Qianhua said unhappily. He said to Wanyan Shursan, 13th uncle, be careful. We will wait for you to come back. Seeing this, Wanyan Shursan grinned. He went back to his room to pack his things. Then he went to the courtyard and said goodbye to them. Then I will leave. Using the teleportation formation to go back should save a lot of time. I'll take you there faster. As Fengjiu spoke, he came to an empty space outside the courtyard. As the array formation in his hand surged, a vortex appeared in the void. Wanyan Shursan stepped forward, looked at the vortex and asked with a smile, where are you going to send me? You'll know when you get there, Fengjiu said. All right. I'll take my leave then. Wanyan Shursan glanced at them. The next moment, he walked into the whirlpool and disappeared. With a wave of Fengjiu's hand, the array was retracted, and the vortex disappeared. You sent him to the place with the closest fluctuation? Emochen asked. His gaze fell on Fengjiu. Do you think that the owner of the Black Lotus of Destruction is somewhere in the upper world? And not in sovereign Tongtian's territory? For so many years, there has been no movement from that person. It's as if he has disappeared. I think he must have found a place to concentrate on cultivation. Otherwise, how could he enter the Divine King realm in a few years without the help of elixirs? Fengjiu said slowly. Then he paused and said, the power of the Black Lotus of Destruction is extraordinary. Even divine kings have to be very careful when facing him. After all, even I can't restrain the power of his Black Lotus of Destruction. Wanyan Qianhua heard this and asked, is there no way to restrain his Black Lotus of Destruction? Chapter 3481. All right, Wanyan Qianhua sighed softly. I can't help you with this matter. You can only rely on yourself. Let alone the fact that she was pregnant right now, even if she wasn't pregnant, she would not be able to fight against godkings with her strength. If it were not for Feng Jiu and the others who were also godkings, they would be instantly slain if they fought against godkings. On the other side, Xianyuan Mose had also sensed the birth of a godking. He used his communication jade token to ask Feng Jiu, and found out that she had already sent Wanyan Shursan back to find out more about it, so he didn't bother with this matter. Even if another godking was born, that was something they would have to deal with in the future. As for their wedding day, he also felt that Sovereign Tongtian and the others wouldn't be so stupid as to pick a day when so many experts were gathered to attack them. Instead of having to endure their monstrous anger and slaughter after disrupting their wedding, they would naturally choose another suitable time. When he came outside and saw the red wedding gifts tied to the wedding bouquets placed around the palace, a trace of gentleness flashed across his eyes. He came to one of the boxes and opened it. In an instant, the dazzling light of precious treasures shone out. After glancing at the treasures, he looked at Ing Yi and said, Ren Xiang is here. Tell him to count the betrothal gifts again. Yes. Ing Yi nodded and watched him go in. Only then did he step forward and seal the box again. There were more than 100 boxes of gifts, each of them extremely precious. Every item was priceless. Many of them were treasures that his master had collected over many years, as well as items that he had ordered people to collect some time ago. Any one of them would cause a huge commotion if taken out. Now, all these treasures were piled up here. He had ordered people to guard the inside and outside to prevent any unforeseen events from happening. In an extremely remote forest in the upper realm, there were more than 100 black-robed cultivators standing in front of a cave. Among them, a woman in a white dress stood among them. If Feng Jiu and the others saw her, they would recognize her as Xianyuan Mo's junior sister, Yun Xuexin. She stood in front of the hundreds of black-robed cultivators. It seemed like her status was higher than the others. Yun Xuexin, who was standing in front of the crowd of cultivators, looked at the cave abode in front of her and couldn't hide her excitement. A divine king-level expert. Master has finally become a god king-level expert. When she found out that Xianyuan Mo's and Feng Jiu had disappeared for 5 years and were now god king-level experts, she almost despaired. Was she supposed to just watch as Feng Jiu and her senior brother were together? She clenched her fists tightly and gritted her teeth when she thought of how she had suffered at the hands of Feng Jiu. Back then, she had sworn that she would not let her have an easy time. She couldn't do it with her own strength, but her master could. They wanted to get married? Don't even think about it. At this time, the stone door of the cave slowly opened. The enchantment and array formation around the cave also dispersed as the person walked out. Seeing that person walk out, the hundreds of black-clothed cultivators outside excitedly knelt down and greeted him loudly. "Greetings, Master. Congratulations on becoming a divine king-level expert. Master's divine power is unparalleled and unrivaled. Master's divine power is unparalleled and unrivaled." Chapter 3482. The Black Lotus Lord walked out and glanced at the crowd. Then, he raised his hand and gestured. All the cultivators stood up and looked at him quietly. "I'm already a godly king. It's only a matter of time before I destroy Feng Jiu and unify the world." The Black Lotus Lord's voice was gloomy and powerful. He slowly clenched his fists. His cold and sharp eyes were filled with battle intent and arrogance. The crowd couldn't help but get excited. Master's skills are unparalleled. It's only a matter of time before you destroy Feng Jiu and unify the world. Master's skills are unparalleled. It's only a matter of time before you destroy Feng Jiu and unify the world. Passionate voices echoed in the forest. Then, under the signal of the Black Lotus Master, everyone quieted down again. They looked at him expectantly, waiting for his orders. "I've been in seclusion for so long. How powerful is Feng Jiu now? Have you been keeping an eye on her?" the Black Lotus Lord asked in a gloomy voice. At this moment, a cultivator stepped forward and said, "Master, Feng Jiu and Xianyuan Mo's are both godly kings now. From what I know, the upper realm has become Xianyuan Mo's territory. Feng Jiu has become the sovereign of the lower realm. Both of them seem to be on good terms with Sovereign Xuanwu, but they are enemies with Sovereign Tongtian. Master, they returned to the lower realm not long ago to prepare for their wedding. There's only half a month left until their wedding," Yun Xuexin, who was dressed in white, said angrily. When she thought of Feng Jiu marrying Xianyuan Mo's, she couldn't wait to tear her apart. The Black Lotus Lord narrowed his eyes when he heard their words. He didn't expect Feng Jiu to have broken through to the godly king level after he had been in seclusion for a few years. Not only her, but even Xianyuan Mo's was also a godly king. "Master, should we take advantage of their wedding?" Yun Xuexin asked impatiently. Upon hearing this, the Black Lotus Master looked at her coldly. "Attack them while they are getting married? No one went to congratulate them on their wedding?" Yun Xuexin's eyes flashed slightly. She couldn't help but lower her eyes, not daring to speak. Many people had gone to congratulate them when they got married, but were they just going to watch them get married like that? A black-robed cultivator glanced at Yun Xuexin before he cupped his hands and said to the Black Lotus Master, Master, over the past few years, Xianyuan Mose and Fengjiu have many connections in both the upper world and the lower world. Now that they are getting married, many people from the upper world have already gone to the lower world to congratulate them, not to mention the people from the lower world. On the day of their wedding, there will definitely be many powerful cultivators. I don't think it's a good time to make a move. That's right, Master. Fengjiu is very powerful now. I think we can join forces with Sovereign Tongtian and the others and use them to deal with Fengjiu. It'll be much easier. No one knew what the Black Lotus Lord was thinking, but his eyes flashed slightly. After a long while, he ordered, Send someone to contact Sovereign Tongtian. Tell him that I want to discuss this with him. As soon as he finished speaking, his cold gaze landed on Yun Xuexin. After a while, he said, Come in with me. Chapter 3483. Due to the presence of the spirit gathering array in the cave, she felt relaxed as soon as she entered. Her body could not help but absorb the aura of spiritual energy in the cave. There was a simple stone table in the cave. As she walked further in, the stone door opened, and she felt cold all of a sudden. The cave was like an ice cellar, and the surrounding walls were illuminated by luminous pearls. Even though there were no windows in the cave, it still looked as bright as day. In the corner of the ice wall, there was an ice bed emitting traces of cold air. When she entered the room, she could only feel a cold air rushing from the soles of her feet to the bottom of her heart. Master, do you have any instructions for me to come in? Inexplicably, she felt uneasy. Why did he ask her to come in? There was nothing in here except for an ice bed. The sealed surroundings made her feel uneasy. She did not know what he wanted to do. Don't you want to get Xianyuan Mose? Don't you want to tear Fengjiu into pieces? Do you think your current strength is enough to fight with Fengjiu? The Black Lotus Lord turned around with his hands behind his back, and his cold gaze landed on Yun Xuexin. Right now I have a way to increase your strength. Furthermore, I can give you the ability to activate the aura of the Black Lotus. Do you want it? A cold voice came out of his mouth. As he spoke, he walked closer to her and looked down at Yun Xuexin, who was standing in front of him. An unfathomable dark light flashed across his cold eyes. Yun Xuexin's heart skipped a beat, and she could not help but take a step back. The master in front of her made her inexplicably fearful, especially the light in his eyes. It made her tremble in fear and want to escape. She swallowed her saliva and suppressed the fear in her heart. With a glimmer of hope, she asked, Master, what should Xuexin do? Can I obtain the power of the Black Lotus? She had a feeling that, if she turned around and fled now, she would definitely be killed by him. No. The consequences would be worse than death. Haha, I will tell you. The Black Lotus Lord smiled coldly and reached out to touch her beautiful face. In an instant, Yun Xuexin felt as if she had been stared at by a poisonous snake. She was so shocked that her face turned pale. Instinctively, she exclaimed and retreated, looking at him warily. Master, what are you trying to do? Her voice was trembling and filled with disbelief. Haha, haven't you already guessed it? The Black Lotus Master stood still and stared at her with narrowed eyes. Do you think it's so easy to get the aura of the Black Lotus that even Fengjiu fears? If you want to get it, how can you not pay a price? Hearing this, the last trace of hope in her heart was finally shattered. Her eyes turned red and her hands tightly gripped her clothes. No. Master, I can't. As a woman, especially a proud woman like her, who was born in a noble family, how could she tolerate her chastity being ruined? Especially when the other party was someone who had lived for hundreds of years and made her fear him from the bottom of her heart. Chapter 3484. Upon hearing her words, the Black Lotus Lord's aura suddenly turned gloomy. The entire cave abode's aura turned bone-chilling. The oppressive and violent aura howled wildly. The next moment, the Black Lotus Lord's figure flashed. He leaned forward and grabbed Yun Xuexin's neck with one hand, lifting her up. A sinister voice filled with murderous intent rang in her ears. Do you think that I'm no match for Xianyuan Mo's? Her neck was choked, and her feet were lifted off the ground. A powerful aura enveloped her, making her feel as if the aura of death was so close to her. She grabbed his hand tightly with both hands and opened her mouth, trying her best to breathe in fresh air. She wanted to open her mouth to beg for mercy, but she couldn't utter a single word. Just when she thought she would be strangled to death, she felt her body being violently flung, and she fell heavily onto the ice bed. This Lord's Black Lotus just happens to need some primordial yin qi to supplement it. As this Lord's subordinate, you have this obligation. You can't refuse, he said in a gloomy voice as he strode towards the ice bed. With a wave of his hand, a black aura shot out. It split into 4 auras and wrapped around Yun Xuexin's hands and feet, fixing her on the ice bed in a shape. No, no, please don't. Yun Xuexin cried and begged in panic. However, she did not know that the more she cried and begged, the more she refused. This made the Black Lotus Lord even more violent. You will be grateful to me because I can make you stronger. As the Black Lotus Lord spoke, he came to the ice bed and reached out to grab her clothes. Yun Xuexin's clothes were torn to shreds and scattered all over the ground. A sharp scream echoed in the cave abode. The black-robed cultivators outside did not know what was happening inside. They were still discussing in low voices how to deal with Fengjiu and the rest. The next evening, the sovereign of Tongtian unexpectedly came to this forest and accurately found the cave abode. Where is your sovereign? In midair, the sovereign of Tongtian narrowed his eyes and stared at the people below. It's the sovereign of Tongtian. A black-robed cultivator recognized him and immediately said, The sovereign of Tongtian, our sovereign is in the cave abode. As he spoke, a black-robed cultivator quickly entered the cave abode to report. The cultivator who entered the immortal's cave went inside but didn't see his master and Yun Xuexin in the outer room. Puzzled, he went to the inner room. There was a stone door there, so he reported from outside. Master, the sovereign of Tongtian is outside. Let him in. The sovereign of Tongtian, the black-robed cultivator, the sovereign of Tongtian, the sovereign of Tongtian. And Tongtian. Tongtian and Tongtian. After he had Tongtian, Tongtian. And Tongtian, Tongtian, Tongtian. Tongtian, Tongtian, and Tongtian. And then Tongtian and Tongtian. He and Tongtian, Tongtian. Ing. The moment he finished speaking, he put on his clothes and walked out. The stone door closed again, leaving Yun Xuexin lying there motionless. She stared blankly at the ceiling of the cave abode. After a long time, her eyes moved and she slowly sat up. She curled up into a ball and leaned against the corner of the room as tears silently flowed down her face. Chapter 3485. Sovereign Tongtian and the Black Lotus Lord sat opposite each other at the stone table in the outer room, sizing each other up. When Sovereign Tongtian saw the Black Lotus Lord's strength, his eyes narrowed. He did not dare to underestimate him. The Black Lotus Lord had grown from an inconspicuous cultivator to a God-King-level expert. There was no doubt about his strength. Furthermore, before he came, he had obtained some information about the Black Lotus Lord. Just like how he had not expected Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mo's to become God-King-level experts in such a short period of time, he had never taken the Black Lotus Lord seriously. However, from the moment he became a God King and stood on the same level as him, he was no longer able to overlook him. He could no longer overlook him. I have long heard of the Sovereign Tongtian's great name. Now that I have met you, you are indeed extraordinary, the Black Lotus Lord said politely. The Black Lotus Lord is even more impressive. In a short period of time, you have reached such heights. You are indeed extraordinary, the Sovereign Tongtian said. He smiled and said, I have fought with Feng Jiu and the others several times, but I have not been able to gain the upper hand. Now that I have the Black Lotus Lord's help, they will not dare to be so arrogant." Upon hearing this, the Black Lotus monarch took a sip of the tea in front of him and said, "I heard that they are preparing to get married? I wonder what plans does Sovereign Tongtian have? Feng Jiu and the others are friends with the Black Tortoise Lord. Furthermore, the Black Tortoise Lord's son has become the adopted son of Feng Jiu and Xianyuan Mo's. If we attack them, the Black Tortoise Lord will not stand by and do nothing. They have 3 God King level experts, so I do not dare to act rashly. Furthermore, in my opinion, even if we attack them, we cannot choose to do so while they are getting married." The sovereign Tongtian could not hide the murderous intent in his eyes when he mentioned Feng Jiu and the others. No matter how much he did not want to see them get married, he had to admit that he could not attack them while they were getting married. It would be unwise to attack them at that time. Since it's not suitable to make a move at that time, why don't we do it half a month after their wedding? During that time, those who went to congratulate him should have already left, Master Black Lotus said. A dim light flashed across his gloomy eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. "Are you planning to make your move in the lower realm? Or the upper realm?" Sovereign Tongtian asked. Whether it's the upper realm or the lower realm, they've already spread their spiritual energy all over the place. If we attack them here, it'll only be beneficial to them. As the Black Lotus Lord spoke, he narrowed his eyes viciously. Since their forces are all over the place, and they have so many supporters and followers, then we shall eliminate all of their supporters. Let them fight on their own. Sovereign Tongtian's expression changed slightly as he asked, "I wonder what Sovereign Black Lotus has in mind? How could it be so easy to cut off the wings of Feng Jiu and Xianyuan Mo's?" However, from his words, could it be that he had a brilliant plan? There's no point in talking about it now. When the time comes, we'll know. With that, he looked at Sovereign Skirit. "I want to find the Lord of Demonic Cultivators here." Chapter 3486. Sovereign Tongtian paused as he looked at Sovereign Tongtian. He was no match for Feng Jiu in the past, and it's even more impossible now. What's the point of looking for him? He was the sovereign of a region and had his own territory. To be honest, he did not want to be associated with the Demon Lord. Moreover, he did not think that the Demon Lord could have grown so powerful in the past few years that Feng Jiu was wary of him. Since the Demon Lord was useless, what was the point of having him? You just need to find him. I will know if he is useful or not, Sovereign Tongtian said. Lord Black Lotus said arrogantly. It was obvious that he did not take Sovereign Tongtian seriously. Sovereign Tongtian's face darkened when he heard this. He looked at Sovereign Tongtian and laughed coldly. Sovereign Tongtian, you sure talk big. Do you think that since I am your subordinate, I should listen to your orders? He was a dignified sovereign, the overlord of a region, and had been in a high position for many years. It was naturally impossible for him to be ordered to do things by a sovereign who had just become a divine king. If he really nodded and agreed today, wouldn't he have to listen to him in the future? How would he have any face left? Sovereign Tongtian smiled coldly and looked at Sovereign Tongtian with a sharp gaze. I have never seen Sovereign Tongtian's strength before. Why don't we have a spar? A trace of surprise flashed across Sovereign Tongtian's eyes. Sovereign Tongtian, who had just become a supreme god, dared to challenge him? Did he think that Sovereign Tongtian was stronger than him? His probing gaze fell on him, sizing him up, but he couldn't see anything. However, he knew that both of them were powerhouses at the level of divine kings. They didn't have any friendship in the past, so there was only a conflict of interest. They wanted to deal with Feng Jiu and Xianyuan Mo's, and they would definitely join forces in the future. Since that was the case, one of them had to listen to the other. Otherwise, there would be many such incidents in the future. After thinking for a while, Sovereign Tongtian stood up and said, "All right. I would like to see what Sovereign Tong Tian is capable of. He wanted to see what made Sovereign Tong Tian so arrogant. Please! Sovereign Tong Tian stood up and gestured for Sovereign Tong Tian to leave. Sovereign Tong Tian clasped his hands behind his back and walked out. Monarch Black Lotus also followed them outside. When they arrived outside, the cultivators automatically made way for them. However, when they thought that their master was going to send Monarch Skirich away, they heard their master's voice. All of you back off. I want to spar with Sovereign Tong Tian. Hearing this, the black-robed cultivators couldn't help but exchange glances. Sparring with Sovereign Tong Tian? Could their master win? Although they were suspicious, they still retreated far away. In a spar between God King experts, a single pressure was enough to make them kneel on the ground. They naturally did not dare to appear within the range of their pressure. The Sovereign of Sky Reaching and the Black Lotus Lord came to the center of the clearing. As their auras surged, the two of them dashed out like lightning. The airflow in the air was as sharp as a blade. Swish! Who?